modernization, and it's striving to become a world leader. But we sometimes forget a little bit about Chinese people, and to me it's very important because I spent more than 12 years living and working in China as a political sociologist, and my research have been getting around what does it mean to be a citizen in China, how to be a citizen in China, and from the state perspective, how to govern citizens. One of the main questions I've been investigating for many years, looking at different kind of people, migrant workers, youth, and all this, NGOs and all that. And so I think it's very important not to forget about Chinese people. And yes, from the outside, we sometimes have like a picture which is quite unidimensional about China as a stable country which is thriving and modernizing very, very fast. But actually, if we, of course, look at things a little bit more in the details, of course, the economy is not so well. I mean, it's getting not so well. It continues to grow, of course, but it has slowed considerably, and it's no longer benefiting the middle class. There is many crises that in different sectors that underlie this. The housing crisis, of course, following the bursting of the housing bubble in 2021. So many people who bought their apartment on plan didn't get them, or their property assets shrunk dramatically. And this is very consequential in China, where owning an apartment is considered as the basic of security and a necessary condition to start a family. And there is, of course, also this youth unemployment problem. Around 20% of the graduates can't find a job, and especially in 2026, there is more than 30 million people getting in the market, and it's in a very, very competitive market. And so, and there is, of course, the wage stagnation, the local debts also, which is very important because it impedes the development of social services, and also local officials work with limited resources. And so social services, public services are not developing so well at the moment. So basically the previous social contract that was work hard and you will climb the social ladder is now broken in a context where the CCP insists more than ever on the necessity for the Chinese people to sacrifice their personal interests and strive relentlessly to realize the dream of China's modernization, and also has enforced a lot of control, the social control, increase the social control to force the people to work harder.
Thank you. So can you talk about a phenomenon within all of that I think you've been looking at in particular recently, which is this phenomenon of tamping, or lying flat, in China? First of all, can you explain, for those of us who've heard about this phenomenon but don't really know exactly what it is, what lying flat means, how it manifests itself, and sort of how widespread you think it's become within China?
So tamping, first of all, is a response to tamping. It means lying flat. Is a response to neituan, which means involution. So it's basically it's feeling like a hamster in the spinning wheel. It refers to endless effort without better outcome. A situation where competition intensifies dramatically within a fixed or shrinking reward pool, and everyone works harder and harder, but no no one actually gets ahead. And so this is actually what lots of people in China are living at the moment. So many of them are asking themselves, why should I go on like this? And so Tongping basically is a rejection of a Darwinian society where only professional competition, the pursuit of profit, the survival of the fittest matter. And it's also about rejecting social responsibilities such as getting married, having baby, consuming, and etc. So young people practicing Tongping, have been often portrayed as kind of Chinese picnic who turn away from the state's productivist and consumerist model, and were somehow not concerned about anything. And but it's, I think, much more than that. It's lying flat is not mere apathy. It is a way to cope with a limited mobility and expression of exhaustion. Just to give like a few figures, according to a recruiting platform report, nearly 60% of workers aged 30 or under refuse to take a management role, which is a 30% jump from 2018, and 45% say that the salary increases on offer are not enough to compensate for the extra effort such positions demand. So there is this component, the social and economic component, which is very strong. But I think there is even more than that, and that more generally, Tongping is a skeptical attitude towards state narrative and a refusal to comply with state injunctions. Not only struggling to make the Chinese dream come true, but also having more babies because it's good for demography, consuming because it's good for economy, Chinese economy, etc., etc. And being a good citizen in China has always meant aligning one's interest with that of the state and actively working to strengthen the state. Today, the Chinese leadership wants to turn its people into good soldier and little soldier of the Chinese dream. And they have to be disciplined, they have to be hardworking, virtuous, loyal to the party, to the family, etc., have more children. So we are confronted with a generation of people who somehow prefer to live according to their own ideals and value rather than state goals. And in a society where it's very risky to oppose to the state in an open manner, the resistance here consists of basically resigning from the social behavior expected from them.
So if people aren't buying into the party's narrative and buying into the sort of implicit social contract in China, or a larger and larger number of people aren't doing so, how much of a threat to the party and its rule is this? Do you see this translating at all into any sort of real resistance to the party and its continuing rule over China?
Well, it is at least the Chinese government is taking this phenomenon very seriously. One of the reasons is that actually it's not only now. Tongping has evolved, and what the term design has evolved. At the very beginning, it designed young people who didn't want to become adults according to the social norms. But then more and more people have been included into this category, and now it's basically designate all the people who doesn't want to take on responsibility either in the private or public sector, and doesn't want to strive more. So it's quite, it seems to be like quite a widespread phenomenon. And there were a recent SMP article who dubbed it, a mainstream phenomenon. And the Chinese government takes it even more seriously, that it's now gaining traction among cadres who doesn't want to, who are deflecting, or who are afraid of making mistake and prefer not to do anything or do the bare minimum rather than doing any mistakes. So the Chinese government have been denouncing this very, many times, and we had also like recently in April a video where the Ministry of State Security denounced stumping as a phenomenon manipulated, as a movement manipulated by social hostile foreign forces to topple the regime. Of course, this is not a political phenomenon. It's not a political movement. It's an aggregate of individual behavior, and those people don't have like alternative political ideals, or. But and then it's not a collective movement per se, but it still can be a threat in that to the regime, in the sense that it is derailing the policy of the Chinese government, which is, and that's why also the government takes it very seriously.
Did you see anything in the latest 5-year plan, the 15th 5-year plan that came out this year, that led you to think the party is trying to address some of these issues, both the sort of lying flat phenomenon, but also problems such as high youth unemployment that we know about in China as well? Did you see anything kind of concrete in the plan that suggests to you that they're aware this is a problem and they're trying to do something about it?
Yeah, no, actually the 5-year plans put the emphasis on the competition with the US, developing AI rather than, and all, I mean, it puts the emphasis on, you know, predictive, about repressing this movement and using AI to predict the behavior of people, or but they don't really have any concrete measure, at least social measure, to cope with the phenomenon. Even though that even more than so than the fact that the Chinese government is investing massively in AI is not going to create more jobs. Right, the contrary. I mean, it's not enough to absorb all the workforce from the industry, traditional industry, and might also, destroy even more jobs for the middle class.
Just to be devil's advocate for a moment, I mean, one of the things I find covering China, I think we all of us who try and cover China for a living find, is that there's this constant balance between obviously there are problems within China and we write about those, but of course the CCP sails on, China sails on, things seem to be fine, there's not evidence of massive social unrest or anything like that. As there is in other countries. So are we in danger of overplaying problems like this, looking at China from our perspective?
It is. I mean, the Chinese society is still somehow diverse and confronted with different tension. It's not, as I said just now, it's not a movement that will topple the regime. This is also a discourse from the Chinese states to deflect the blame on people. If the economy is not going on so well is also because people are lazy, because cadres doesn't want to take any responsibility. So it's a way to deflect the blame on them. And this is actually, we could also interpret this phenomenon, the way the Chinese state react to it, as a traditional pattern in China's state-society relation. You know, during the Maoist era, you had also workers, peasants, were also using sabotage, foot dragging to resist the mass mobilization by the state. And the state was always also deflecting the blame on people. It's because they were too selfish. They were that the Cultural Revolution eventually didn't. Or the revolution didn't succeed. So somehow this is a recurring pattern in China's, state-society relations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wanted to open it now for questions to the audience. If you've got any questions for Chloé.
I have some questions that came in online.
Perfect.
You know how much I hate interrupting you, Andrew, yet I do it all the time. I have a question from an LK in the audience. Is the China dream antinomic to the American dream, or is there some overlap or conflictual values? Please describe these two belief systems, and thank you.
Wow.
Wow. No, but it's a good question. What is the American dream? What time about? I don't know. The 60s American dream.
You've got a minute or two.
About consuming, about or the now American dream. I don't know. No, but the Chinese dream. The Chinese dream is a dream of that is going on from the end of the 19th century about Fuqiang. Being a strong and powerful and rich country. It has been a continuity since the 19th century. And the idea is that, this can't be achieved without the people. And one of the main assets of of China, it's its big population. So all the people have to sacrifice their own interests for the sake of the country and for the sake of making this dream come true. But what appears, obviously, is that many young people, or even not so young people, are not dreaming with their party and doesn't want to sacrifice their interests to make this dream happen. So it should help us nuance a little bit our perception of China's power, and also, of course, make us sensitive somehow to the plight of those people, of some of the population, of some of the Chinese people, some part of the population.
Rhea, one more question?
One more and last question is, can China maintain social stability when AI and robots are replacing human workers? Yeah. One part of the Chinese dream also, I think, is to replace all these unruly people by robots. Robots are much more, they don't complain, they work faster, they don't make any mistakes. From what I read, in the press, in the Chinese press, or report, there's this idea that eventually we should replace, the people by robots. There is a lot of this, I feel really that the Chinese government is at a loss with this phenomenon. Doesn't propose any solution, which is either concrete about. But there are a lot of propositions coming from the society that, because there is a lot of burnout, for example, and that people should be able to take some breaks in their career to recharge, and that this should be okay, or that they could, whatever. There's a lot of propositions, but the government is adamant that this problem should be dealt only with increasing control, assessment, evaluation, productivity. Is like the stick, you know. Usually the Chinese government has been using carrots and sticks to deal with social tension. Now it's only all about sticks. So it's the human part of the Chinese modernization is not really taken into account by the Chinese government. And obviously, I don't know where, it doesn't take into account, it doesn't seek to deal with the root cause, I mean, the cause of the phenomenon, which is, on the contrary, it seems to be, you know, increasing its control and not doing anything for these people.
Very quick question from me to finish up. Just to broaden it out a little bit, obviously Chinese politics, notoriously quite difficult to write about and research, but you've obviously looked into this phenomenon of tamping. Just for our audience of Asia Society members and people interested in China, what other sort of areas of research, what other sort of things should people be looking at who are interested in writing about or researching Chinese politics?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's important to recall that politics is not all about what's going on in the leadership or even at the local government level. Politics is also in the society. As I just said, it's important to not to forget the people, because it's part of the picture also of how we represent ourselves, how we apprehend the Chinese power. And obviously there is a very big part, although we don't have figures, of course, of the population, not only about the young people, but also among white collars who are not, they're not following the party. I mean, they are not buying the Chinese government ideology. Doesn't want to be controlled. They resist the control, the increasing control. And there is another very interesting phenomenon. It's this subculture among youth. There is another cultural trend which is interesting to follow. It is called dream core. So there are young people are sharing online a picture of the China of their childhoods, and they take refuge. They're showing the nostalgia for China, which is now gone, and thus exemplify their refusal of today's China and the future that the CCP want to lead China. And they take refuge in a more human past. And this is, it means that actually a great deal of the Chinese population is not convinced at all, and even refuse the so-called modernization that the party is so proud of, wants to and wants to buy wants to promote outside. At the same time, when the party wants to embody a model for not only modernization but modernity, you have such a big part of Chinese population that actually don't buy it. So this is very important to have in mind, I think.
Chloé, thank you so much for talking us through all of that fascinating research that you're looking into there. And I'd like to invite the audience to say thank you to Chloé for her insights.